All right, Senator Chris Murphy, thank you. As always, we appreciate your time. So let me dive in here. As we've noted many times in the last 24 hours, this is something that has never happened before. No Speaker of the House has ever been ousted by a vote from the floor, and nobody knows, I guess, exactly what to expect here. I want to ask you what you're hearing from your colleagues over in the House about what they're going to do in the meantime. Are they completely dead in the water, or will they hold some unofficial talks, maybe unofficial negotiations, to try to advance the issues as much as they can while they're in limbo?
Well, first of all, this is really bad for the country. Nobody should be celebrating what's happening in the House of Representatives right now. This makes us look pretty foolish in the eyes of the world. And the reality is that right now, all the decision makers in the House, which are mainly Republican leaders, are consumed by this leadership fight. So there is not the ability to work on keeping the government open past the middle of November, or trying to figure out a way to get another round of funding to Ukraine. We're working on that in the Senate. We continue to work really well with our Republicans in the Senate. We have good relationships here. We've passed bipartisan budget bills. There's no doubt there's bipartisan support for Ukraine in the Senate. But until the House figures out who their speaker is, they are not interested, unfortunately, in working on anything else. And that's in part what makes this such a tragic, unnecessary, and dangerous moment.
Yeah, and to zero in on the budget, this extension that passed over the weekend funds the government for another 45 days to give time to come up with a solid budget. But of course, now part of that time is going to be spent picking a new speaker. That's going to squeeze down the time available. How much does that complicate the matter?
We don't have a lot of time here. And, what is also hard to understand is that even if House Republicans hadn't had this fight over the speaker this week, they were planning on moving forward and passing Republican-only partisan budget bills. It's kind of too late for that. This isn't the moment for grandstanding. This is the moment for Republicans and Democrats to sit down together and hammer something out. We've done that in the Senate. We've passed a budget through the Appropriations Committee that's on the floor of the Senate right now that is totally bipartisan. That has 75 votes. The House refuses to do that. The House Republicans refuse to talk to Democrats right now. So, yes, the speaker fight postpones our negotiations, but we have gotten no signal from Republicans in the House that they actually want to sit down and talk. They just seem more interested in scoring political points for now.
Well, let me ask you this. The complaint that Matt Gaetz and the other Republicans had against McCarthy is he got too cozy with Democrats in passing this extension over the weekend, and yet that didn't seem to endear him to the Democrats at all, because all the Democrats voted him out. Why didn't that score any points for him? Was it counterproductive to oust a guy who had shown a willingness to reach across the aisle?
But he didn't really reach across the aisle, right? He sprung that continuing resolution with no money for CR on the Democrats without any consultations with them. And Democrats just decided to do the responsible thing, which was to vote to keep the government open and operating. There was no negotiation with Democrats. And there's something missing in that continuing resolution, which is support for Ukraine. There's a real chance now, a greater chance than ever before, that we abandon Ukraine to Russia. So had McCarthy shown any willingness to actually be Speaker of the House, right? Every member of the House, Republicans and Democrats, then I think Democrats would have considered supporting him. But on issue after issue, he never, ever worked with Democrats, never talked with Democrats. Again, very different than the Senate. Senator Schumer works with Republicans. Leader McConnell, the Republican leader, works with Democrats in the Senate. We just want that kind of behavior to be the way that the Speaker of the House conducts themselves over there.
And you've mentioned this holds up the Senate as well, because both houses have to work together to get legislation passed. So right now you have the budget. You've mentioned Ukraine. What's your biggest concern right now about everything being held in limbo right now?
Well, I just do worry that we could actually shut down the government, and that would be terrible for people in Connecticut. Families that rely on Head Start preschool, families that rely on food stamps, farmers that are processing loan applications, all of that would be in jeopardy. So I worry that we will have a shutdown because the next 45 days will be spent arguing over who the next speaker is. And I really do worry about the message to Ukraine. I think that if we don't stop Russia in Ukraine, there's a good chance that Russia will move on to a NATO country, and that will be Connecticut men and women fighting and dying for our security overseas, and I don't want that either. So those are the two things that I worry a lot about right now.
Mm-hmm. So Jim Jordan has thrown his hat into the ring. Steve Scalise has thrown his hat into the ring. Kevin Hern from Oklahoma has thrown his hat into the ring. Is there any scuttlebutt in the halls? Do you have any sense of who might emerge from this as Speaker of the House?
I don't. I mean, might not shock you. I don't have a lot of great intelligence into the House Republican conference. And, we still are working over here in the Senate. So we're processing nominees. We're, proceeding with discussions on immigration reform. We're getting ready to move budget bills. So there's still a lot of work happening here in the Senate. So I unfortunately, don't have a lot of intel as to who the leading candidate is for Speaker. I just hope they resolve it soon. I mean, first, I hope they pick somebody who is going to be bipartisan and is going to put the country ahead of the Republican Party. But second, I hope they do this quickly.
All right. All right. Senator Chris Murphy, we thank you for joining us. Good luck in Washington.
Thank you.